Welcome back, learner, to another deep dive. Today we're looking at, well, a really big question. Has the modern desire to only consume, morally pure media fundamentally broken how we engage with art, literature, and even each other?
It's a huge shift in culture.
Yeah, it really is. And today's material comes from a YouTube video transcript by a creator named Amala Ekpunobi. The video is titled, "Every Author I Love Turns Out to Be Problematic."
Right. And the mission here is to explore her argument that, cancel culture and this obsession with finding creators problematic is actually rotting our critical thinking skills and stunting personal growth.
But before we get into it, we really need to set some ground rules, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the source material contains some highly charged political viewpoints, specifically, critiques of left-wing ideology, gender politics, and cancel culture.
Right.
So we need to make it explicitly clear right now, we are not taking sides.
No, not at all.
We are not endorsing any of the viewpoints presented in the video. The goal is purely to impartially report on, analyze, and basically unpack the ideas contained in the original source material. We just want to help you, the listener, understand the cultural conversation that plays.
Perfect. Okay, let's unpack this.
So the whole thing kicks off with this viral confession online, and it got a surprisingly harsh reaction.
Yeah, it was a post on X, formerly Twitter. So let me just read it. The poster says, "Honestly, I'm this close to quitting reading for good. Every single author I actually love turns out to be problematic or worse."
Which is quite a statement.
Yeah, and they go on, they say, "I'm so tired of finding out after I already got attached. Feels like I can't enjoy anything anymore without a background check first."
Wow. Yeah, that's heavy.
I mean, think about that mindset for a second. Imagine the sheer exhaustion of living that way. It's like having to conduct a high-level government background security clearance just to check out a library book.
Exactly. It sounds exhausting.
Right. And the reactions to this post, well, they weren't exactly supportive.
Not at all. What's fascinating here is how the speaker points out the shift in how the pushback hence.
Yeah, the video cites these top replies. One user just outright mocked the poster, saying they're, quote, incapable of critical thinking. And that one got like 26,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And another reply diagnosed them with, quote, terminal fandom brain. 14,000 likes on that one.
Terminal fandom brain. That's a very specific.
It is. And then a third reply pointed out a superiority complex, basically saying, look, liking an author's work doesn't mean you support every little thing they stand for.
Right.
And that not every waking decision is a moral statement.
Yeah, and that's exactly the core issue. What's fascinating here is the modern blurring between aesthetic appreciation, like just enjoying a good book, and moral endorsement.
Wait, meaning like being in a relationship with the author.
Exactly. The speaker argues that this specific form of moral purity, highly subjective, it's based entirely on the sensibilities of a particular group of people.
Okay, so if this moral purity is dictated by a specific group, we need to look at exactly who the speaker blamed for this trend, right?
Yeah.
And also the specific weaponized word they use to enforce it, which brings us to the word problematic.
Yeah. The speaker asserts that the word problematic is almost exclusively used by left.
Okay.
She says it's used to enforce their woke ideology. Basically, according to the source, if someone doesn't 100% wholeheartedly toe the line, they're labeled problematic and discarded.
Just thrown out.
Yep. Total excommunication.
Which is wild. And she goes into these Urban Dictionary definitions to prove her point, right?
Yeah.
They're super cynical, but actually kind of funny.
Oh, yeah. What were they?
So the first one says it's a word used by university lecturers to disagree with literature without saying it directly.
Right.
And it says it's usually accompanied by, quote, a long pause and pointless hand gesture.
That's very visual.
Right. Just waving away an argument. The second definition calls it a passive-aggressive term used by sociology majors who are just too afraid to explicitly call someone racist, sexist, or homophobic.
So it's like a linguistic dodge.
Yeah, exactly. But the ultimate definition she reads, this one is brutal. It says it's a vague buzzword used by white fifth-wave feminists on Twitter with an unchecked white savior complex.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it says it's meant to spook corporate entities. The definition even associates this demographic with, like, daddy issues, glorification of mental illness, and a compulsive need to search for racist undertones in literally everything.
So it's painting a very specific picture of who uses this word.
Right. But I have to ask, and I'm asking you and the listener here, is it possible that the word problematic actually gained traction because it allows for nuance?
I mean,
well, like it lets you acknowledge an issue without calling for total destruction. Like you can say, hey, this old movie is problematic, but we don't have to burn every copy of it.
I see what you're saying.
So has it, as the source argues, just become a cowardly corporate scare tactic? Or does it have a real purpose?
Well, from the speaker's perspective, it's definitely a scare tactic. She views these ideological tests very critically.
Right.
She claims that being unproblematic is inherently boring because you're just constantly trying not to offend.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
She really dissects how the political left, in her view, operates under this all-or-nothing engagement. Any deviation, any minor flaw results in total
It's
extinction.
like you can't be even 1% wrong.
Exactly. But the real-world consequences of this word aren't just contained to Twitter.
No, they're not.
They affect the legacies of some of the most universally beloved creators.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the speaker starts applying this framework to specific authors. And the biggest example she uses is J.K. Rowling.
Right, the creator of Harry Potter.
Yeah. The speaker points out that Rowling is labeled a horrific transphobe because, as the source states, Rowling believes that men are men and women are women, and we should abide by the recognition of that reality.
And a backlash,
Massive. Like, the resulting boycotts include literal book burning, people avoiding the theme park, and, massive campaigns refusing to play the Hogwarts Legacy video game.
It's a huge cultural flash.
It is. And it's not just current authors either. She brings up the older generation, like Roald Dahl and Dr. Seuss.
Oh, right, because they've been called racist.
Exactly, which led to their books being removed from certain school spaces. She even points out the Biden administration separating Dr. Seuss's name from a National Reading Day.
So it's reaching the highest levels of government.
Yeah, it's institutional now. And then she mentions C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien.
Really? The fantasy titans.
Yeah. The speaker speculates that modern leftists would view these authors as inherently problematic simply due to their religious beliefs influencing their work.
So if a worldview doesn't align perfectly, the work is discarded.
Exactly. And I like to think of this like eating at a restaurant with an abrasive chef. Like, if the food is absolutely brilliant, does it matter if the chef's personal politics clash with yours?
That's a great analogy. And the speaker's proposed solution is pretty straightforward.
What does she say?
She basically says, just admit that you like Harry Potter and keep it pushing.
Keep it pushing. I love that.
Right. Just separate the art from the artist. She synthesizes this claim that the very traits making these authors problematic might be the exact traits that gave them the capability to create such resonant, enduring art.
Oh, wow. So their flaws are tied to their genius.
Yeah, exactly. She discusses how kids still love Dahl and Seuss because the books stand on their own. They're independent of modern adult political sensibility. Kids don't care about the author's background.
They just want a good story. Okay, but while defending Harry Potter or the Cat in the Hat is one thing, the speaker's argument suddenly escalates to a massive extreme to prove a point about intellectual engagement.
Yes, she really pushes the boundary here.
She does, because she argues that we should engage with the writings of history's most undeniably horrific figures.
Right, even people society universally views as truly problematic. She says we should read them to, quote, know our enemies.
And the examples she uses in the source are intense. We're talking Adolf Hitler and Mein Kampf, Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, and his manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future, and Osama bin Laden's letter to America.
It's a very stark contrast she's building.
It's jarring. She says it is hypocritical to refuse to read Harry Potter over a gender debate or get irked by James and the Giant Peach over a past racist comment when the writings of literal terrorists and dictators are actively studied.
She's pointing out a perceived double standard.
Yeah, but I have to challenge the internal logic of the source material here. Does the speaker conflate two entirely different acts?
How do you...
Well, reading historical texts of dead dictators to understand history is academically completely different than financially supporting a living author through theme parks and video games.
That's a fair point.
Like, can those two things really be compared as equal forms of engagement?
It's definitely debatable, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, she's really warning against falling into an echo chamber.
Okay.
Let's explore that. She's analyzing this philosophical concept that to understand your own first principles, you literally must engage with things that disgust or things you completely
So
disagree.
you have to test.
Exactly. Shielding yourself makes you vulnerable. It makes you ignorant of how your enemies think.
Right. You can't fight an ideology if you don't even know what it sounds.
Precisely.
Right.
And this brings us to the core thesis of the source, what this obsession with purity is ultimately doing to the human mind.
Yes, the psychological and sociological conclusions she draws about this puritanical nature of modern media consumption.
And she has a really striking metaphor for it.
She does. She says that society is essentially child-proofing the world rather than world-proofing the child.
Child-proofing the world. That's a powerful way to frame it.
It really is. She asserts that this moral superiority complex is quite literally rotting their brain and cutting off critical thinking skills.
It's a harsh critique.
Very harsh. She even targets a specific demographic, calling out the arrogance of a, quote, 22-year-old sociology and gender studies major who imagines they have the whole world figured out.
She does not.
No, she really doesn't. And thinking about that child-proofed world, it's like living entirely on a diet of baby food.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Right, it's perfectly safe, there's no risk of choking, but eventually your jaw muscles atrophy because you've never had to chew on anything tough.
Exactly. The source asserts that human existence is not meant to be unproblematic. In fact, exact opposite.
It's messy.
Very messy. She unpacks the idea that true growth only happens. You have to engage with ideas you don't like the sound, look, or feel.
Right, you have to chew the tough food.
Yeah. The expectation that media should only make you feel wonderful all the time is, according to the source, a fatal flaw in modern development.
So, what does this all mean? We've gone from a viral tweet about background checking authors through the political weaponization of the word problematic.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We really have. We looked at the defense of controversial beloved authors, and finally, the speaker's ultimate plea to build intellectual resilience rather than demanding a sanitized world.
And this matters deeply to you, the learner. As someone seeking knowledge, recognizing when you are artificially filtering your own sources based on moral purity can prevent you from gaining true, well-rounded insight.
It's about keeping an open mind even when it's uncomfortable.
Exact. And I want to leave you with a brand new concept building on this source material. If consumers demand total moral perfection from creators, what happens to the art of...
Oh, wow. That's a scary thought.
It is. Will the next generation of writers subconsciously self-censor their most brilliant, boundary-pushing ideas out of a preemptive fear of being labeled problematic?
Right. So we aren't just canceling current artists.
No. Are we effectively erasing the bold art that hasn't even been created yet?
That is something to seriously mull over. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.